Good evening, everybody. This is Mayor Randall Woodfin, and I am here with Councilor Valerie Abbott, who represents District 3. We're happy to be with you tonight. I want to first start with an apology. We are a few minutes behind and late. That's because of technical difficulties. I have found that in the world we live in, over the last year related to COVID-19 and transitioning to a lot of online meetings, from time to time there are glitches. We hate that we had this glitch right at our start time, and so we look to make that time up with you tonight. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Ms.
So I just have to say greetings to everyone from District 3. I am honored to have been the representative for District 3 for roughly 20 years now. And I hope to be able to continue to serve for a few more years. District 3 is a unique area of town, and we have lots of issues, but we have lots of good things and lots of good amenities. So what we have tried to do over the years is try to make incremental improvements in the infrastructure in our district and in the quality of life. And I hope that everyone is in agreement and that we can work further to accomplish more. Today, I'm very happy to be here with the mayor to talk about some of the things that we have been able to do during the pandemic, and of course, some of the things we wish to do in the future, when hopefully the pandemic is only a memory. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Abbott. Everybody, residents of District 3, I will tell you, you have an advocate and a fighter and a champion in Valerie Abbott. She is as committed today as she has been for all of these years, serving the residents of District 3. So I'm grateful to partner and work with her on your behalf. Before we get into it, shout out to all the neighborhood officers, presidents, vice presidents, and secretaries of District 3. Thank you for what you do every day. Thank you to all the small business owners in District 3. And thank you to the residents that are present tonight. With that, we'll jump right in. And on this packet we have tonight, you all can see it here on the screen. District 3 has 3 community resource representatives that actually respond to your needs, respond to your issues, respond to your requests, respond to your questions. I know that Ms. Abbott, as the counselor, and her office is very happy to always engage and take your questions via phone, in person, etc. But Ms. Fells, Mr. Houston, and Ms. Martin, you see their cell numbers here, you see their office numbers, and you also see their email addresses. Separate from the monthly meeting you all have every month, they're always here and available for you. So anytime you have an issue, please feel free to engage Ms. Jasmine Fells, Mr. Harold Houston, and Ms. Melanie Martin. Again, their information and contacts is right here for any issues you ever have, for any of the neighborhoods you reside in District 3. Another just PSA, I want to talk to you all, and Ms. Abbott may want to say something about this as well, is you all, we are still, I know it's been 1 year, I know there is COVID fatigue, I know there is spring fever you've been waiting on for an entire year, but it's really, really important as we round out this year related to the coronavirus, that you all who are available to get vaccinated actually get the vaccine. We want you to know there is a website that you can register. There is a phone number you can call, and testing is at least 6 days a week for 12 hours a day. So I really implore you, I really want to encourage you, in order for us, the fastest way for us to get back to our normal way of life is to get vaccinated. But it also does 2 things. 1, it saves your life. 2, it saves other lives. So Ms. Abbott, did you want to add anything about that?
Well, I am a big vaccine advocate. I have had both of my vaccination shots. I have been 2 weeks out as of yesterday from the last shot, so I feel like I'm as protected as I can get, and I'm hopefully not going to give anything to anyone else. And I hope that everyone will take it to heart that you're not only protecting yourself and your loved ones, but you're protecting total strangers who really don't want to get coronavirus. So I hope that everyone will cooperate with the wearing of masks. We're still wearing our masks, and social distancing and doing all of the hygienic work that we have to do, which is keeping us safe from a lot of other diseases like colds and flu. So there's something good about this. But I hope that everyone will strongly consider being vaccinated. It's good for all of us.
Thank you, Ms. Abbott.
Thank you, Mayor.
So what we're going to do next, everybody, we are going to get into some of the things you deserve updates on. The housing code inspections and the zoning inspections, which will be the next two things we talk about, are important to people in all 9 districts. But I know there is a higher volume of calls that come into Ms. Abbott's office related to these two things. So as you all see here on this slide, this actually gives you a perspective from 2018 to 2021, where you see even in the middle of the coronavirus, at the height, there were 334 housing code inspections in District 3 for those neighborhoods related to violations such as deteriorated roof systems, damaged windows or doors, chipped exterior paint, as well as other issues. What we want you to do is know that help exists. If you have issues at your home, you can call. We can give you we can get you to third-party help, that is. In addition to that, for those of you who see things and want to report those, we ask that you continue to call 311 or Ms. Abbott's office or those representatives or our office, but someone will be in a position to address that. The next thing I'll do these as a 1-2, and then I'll let Ms. Abbott speak to either one of these issues if she wants to. Zoning enforcement cases in District 3, again, it's a snapshot for a 4-year period between 2018, 19, 20, and 21. As you can see, the violations includes business use of residential property, outside storage, home occupation violations, fence violations, and some things dealing with inoperable vehicles. Again, you see the closed cases versus active cases. So if you see anything that's in violation, residential property, outside storage, occupation violations, fence violations, or inoperable vehicles, again, please let us know so we can tag it and or investigate and inspect and be sure we can engage your neighbor or other citizens in District 3, Ms. Abbott, related to those two issues around housing code enforcement or zoning enforcement. Did you want to add anything?
Well, certainly those are some of the areas we get our largest number of complaints about. People who don't maintain their property. We have a lot of absentee landlords who don't maintain their property. And of course, since they don't live in the neighborhood, they don't care too much that they don't maintain their properties. And so, you know, we do have a group of people in the neighborhood who routinely call things in when they see them. And the big frustration is how long it takes to see any action. And I was hopeful that someone from your team could talk about the amount of time it takes to accomplish a change, because I think most of us, you know, we wish things would be done instantly, but we know that isn't going to happen. But it would be good for people to understand how long it takes the city to deal with a zoning violation or a housing code violation that's been reported.
That's cool. Silver, do me a favor, make a note to find out which of our team members are present that can answer both of those questions. And as soon as I get done, we can jump right into those two at the top of the Q&A. So everybody, here's the next slide we have before you is the weed abatement for District 3. Now, Councilor Abbott was right. Every district has its share, unfortunately, of absentee landlords and or slum landlords. But I think the numbers you see are very low as far as weed abatement compared to other areas of town, because there are not a lot of empty lots. So this may not necessarily be a sexy slide related to numbers or an issue, but we wanted you to know for the empty lots that do exist, this is the work that's been done towards them. And for this upcoming fiscal year, we are going to engage the council as well as the community and increasing the number of contractors that assist us in cutting grass. Because as Ms. Abbott reminds me, by the time we cut a lot, 2 weeks later it's grown and we haven't been able to get back to it. I'm going to let you say what you usually say. How about that?
Well, 2 cuts a year is what we normally do to a lot, and I cut my lawn every 2 weeks.
Right.
So the money we spend cutting these vacant lots is just like taking it and flushing it down someplace where you'll never see it again. We rarely ever get a dime of it back. I think I heard one time from one of the public works directors, we got 10% of the money that we had put into mowing grass back.
It's a tough situation, everybody.
It is.
Ms. Abbott has seen it for quite some time. In my 3+ years of experiencing it, what I've realized and have accepted and have continued to say out loud, it was never meant for the city to be in the grass cutting business. Now, let me qualify that. It's not sustainable. We are responsible for right of ways. We are responsible for parks and a lot of other city properties, etc. We even assist the state related to those exits, right? But related to these empty lots that are mainly not owned by the city of Birmingham, there's a whole process of going on private property to cut. So it's expensive and we don't get the return received because even from a eyeball standpoint, it just doesn't look good, which is why we continue to do the best we can.
And Mr. Mayor, I have to correct you.
Please.
Property owners are responsible by city ordinance for maintaining the city right-of-way adjacent to their property. I know that there are people who actually call our office and want the city to come mow in front of their house, which I think is amazing that you would expect the city to come over and make your property look better by cutting that little 3 feet in front of your house. So it is the property owner's responsibility to cut the right-of-way adjacent to his or her property.
Well, look, I've learned a lot from you since I've been in this position because you are able to just spit some facts very quickly about the co-responsibility, what the city's supposed to do, what our citizens are supposed to do. And sometimes it's good for us to give friendly reminders on our shared role in democracy, which is a participatory sport, and our individual responsibility as city versus citizen, and then co-equally. So anything else, this would be a good time to remind our citizens anything else they're actually responsible for that they may believe we're responsible for.
I think the rights of way are really one of the biggest things. That and hauling off your own, if you are a landlord, making sure that your tenant's refuse is hauled off instead of expecting the city to take it away.
They may need you to say that again.
Okay, landlords are responsible for getting rid of their tenants' proliferation of stuff when they move. In many areas of our district, and I'm sure citywide, the landlords dump all of the furniture that a person has left behind out on the street and expect the city to pick it up. And unfortunately, the city does pick it up instead of issuing citations to the landlords, which I would like to discuss with you.
Yes, ma'am.
So we need for landlords to be responsible and to, man up and haul off the stuff that comes out of your properties instead of leaving it for the citizens of Birmingham to foot the bill.
All right. Well, that is a great segue. I promise I didn't intentionally do that to you on purpose, but that is a great way to talk about what our citizens put out versus what they should not put out versus what's illegal to put out. And that is, illegal dumping, unfortunately, is a problem across the entire city. And this is something that we continue to try to stop and decrease. But at a certain point, it does take a change in mindset of our citizens, again, to do their part. And do you want to keep where you live clean or not? However, we know there's a records number of citizens who don't care, who are dirty, who are nasty, and just like to do illegal things, which include illegally dumping. And so if you see it, please call 311 or 205-254-6344 to report illegal dump sites. Again, please call 311 for any trash issues or 311-254-6344 to report illegal dump sites. Councilor Abbott and I had a conversation prior to us starting this town hall meeting related to the whole notion of mattresses and that they are not allowed to be picked up, if I'm correct, Ms. Abbott, and taken to landfills. Or if the individual tries to take it to a landfill, they won't accept it. Do I have that correct?
Okay, the city picks them up chock-a-block. We do not refuse to pick them up. It's that in certain neighborhoods, we have a proliferation of mattresses due to students who are constantly churning and leaving behind all their old stuff. But the city picks up every single one of them.
So you're saying we're being too nice?
We are.
All right, Sybil, this is a great time to tell the citizens of District 3, please, if you can help us on that landfill fact sheet. What is the closest landfill for citizens in District 3 to voluntarily use, and things can be accepted for them so it won't be left out on the curb? Yeah. Got a mic?
Yes, sir. That is the Southside District located at 501 6th Avenue South, Birmingham 35205. And to call to get more specifics about our landfills and what you can and cannot take, that number is 205-655-3391, and speak with Joshua Miller, and he will be happy to assist.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.
But they don't take mattresses. So maybe we should tell people where to take mattresses because the landfill doesn't take them. The city shouldn't be picking them up. What should people do with their discarded mattress?
When we get to our Q&A, we may ask Raph the Barton-Laden, who's over Public Works, to figure out, see if he can help us with that answer.
By then, he will have found the answer.
Yes, ma'am. All right, everybody. So, District 3 is very different from a lot of other sides of town, maybe with the exception, District 3 is very different from a lot of districts where a lot of other districts share precincts. One precinct that responds to calls of services from BPD, and that is South Precinct. The captain of South Precinct is Captain Greenberg. You all see his information here, 205-254-2793. Again, that's 254-2793. If you have any issues related to crime or things you may believe related to crime, any issues, crimes against property, crimes against persons, please do not hesitate to call South Precinct and or speak to the captain. In addition to that, there are a lot of issues around the city where we want actually a non-sworn officer, civilian, to respond to, and that is Ms. Ragland. Now, Ms. Ragland is not a sworn officer, but she actually engages South Precinct communities and neighborhoods related to how citizens patrol, citizens engagement, block watch programs, and et cetera, all of those things. So if you ever actually need a non-sworn officer to engage in an issue you have, where you can get into more detail, planning, working with the city, Ms. Ragland is available. Her email address is here, as you can see. Her phone number is 254-2793 as well. Please take advantage of this number and please engage these two people who can help you with any issues you believe are related to crime. Do you want to add anything, Ms. Abbott?
Well, I just want to say how pleased we are that Captain Greenberg has come recently to the South Precinct. He's someone that we've known from the past because he was stationed there before, and he knows our neighborhood and is exceedingly responsive to citizens and neighborhood officers, which thrills us to death.
Yes, ma'am. All right, everybody, we only got a few more issues to bring to you before we get into our questions and answers. So with that, we want to talk some more about policing and that related to District 3. One of the things Chiefs Patrick Smith and Captain Greenberg have done is they've created an actual 8-person crime reduction task force that's assigned to the city 4 precincts. And so there is a crime task force assigned to South Precinct that includes District 3. In addition to that, Vice Narcotics as well as Human Sex Trafficking Unit has been addressing a growing problem that we know exists in certain areas of the city. And then there's a citywide traffic task force. We get complaints from residents in District 3 of speeding in residential areas. And we've also increased the number of radar guns we've purchased. So believe it or not, we actually have a lot of people angry at us because the number of tickets have increased. Good. Just know we want you to slow down out there. The next slide is an information slide. Now, all of us use our cell phones and our laptops and iPads for different reasons, but you now can add a Birmingham Police Department app to your devices to receive information and or share information. So if you have a complaint about speeders or other public safety issues, you can send that information to bpdsuggestions@birminghamal.gov. Again, that's bpdsuggestions@birminghamal.gov. Or you can actually use the BPD app, which I believe can be very helpful to you. A lot of information on there. So please take advantage of that app.
I'm adding it to my phone right now.
We're going to slow down for you then if y'all can go back, please.
I got it.
You got it?
I'm getting it.
All right. All right, everybody. So across the city, we have been experiencing calls where people say, I believe there's drug activity at a certain house. Now, this slide may be too small for your eyes to see, so I'm going to read some of the information. Since its inception in 2020, the city's new drug nuisance abatement team has received 123 reports of nuisance properties. Of those 123, 121 have been, we've investigated 121 drug nuisance properties and investigated 12 property nuisance cases. This team has been responsible for securing 7 court injunctions to prevent continued drug-related issues at that property. So once it goes before a judge, the judge can decide if that renter or homeowner is allowed to continue even living there, which is important because often we, BPD and other departments, can't do anything, but a different layer of government, i.e. our judges, can. So if you see or know of any drug nuisance abatement issues in your area, I want to give you a phone number to take advantage of and call so we can get the investigation going and see what we can do on the community's behalf. This is rooted out of our legal department. That phone number is 254-2369. You can call weekdays, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 to share and give any information related to a house or home you believe is a drug nuisance. District 3 hasn't necessarily had a lot of homes in the critical repair program. Part of 2020 issue is there's a delay due to the COVID-19. I do want to go to the next slide that talks about pothole repairs and patching in District 3. So I can't wait that James Fowler gives you all an update on whatever he wants to talk about related to any questions you have related to infrastructure. But as Ms. Abbott said at the beginning of her remarks when we first started, as your representative, Ms. Abbott has focused on a lot of infrastructure issues for citizens in District 3. That includes a lot of paving and a lot of sidewalks. And Mr. Fowler has reminded me, and I can't wait for him to say it in his own words, but I've tried to remember some of his words. 2 things have happened. One, there has been disinvestments in city infrastructure for many, many years. And over the last 3 years, what we have tried to do is order our steps. That includes getting our finances right, and then being able to be in a position where on a yearly basis, start making the necessary and right investments yearly in street paving and sidewalk repairs, because that has not always been the case. The good news is on the street paving, we are in the third year of a 5-year plan of 10 million a year over 5 years for a total of 50. In the first 3 years, we didn't make 30, but we did make 28 million. In addition to that, there's been some sidewalk repair, but not at the rate Councilor Abbott nor you are pleased with. And so again, as Mr. Fowler has told me, we look to be in a position, once we get past all these financial hurdles the city's been in for many years, to get into a routine where every year there is always constant paving and sidewalk planning and repairs and money towards those two things. So I wanted to say that. But related to the potholes, if you all can go to that slide, you see that 2018, actually there's been a decrease. There's been a decrease every year in the number of potholes repaired. That tells me one of two things. Either we've started paving more, or less complaints, or less potholes. One of those three, or a combination of some of them. But just this year in 2021, from January to now, you see the amount of potholes repaired. That does not replace a street needing to be paved. However, for the paving plan, we cannot pave every street in District 3 in one fiscal year, nor in 3 years, because there's a 5-year plan where the streets have been ordered which to pave in. Speaking of, I'm not sure if it's in here, a lot of you all have an interest in Handover Circle. The money, I want you all to know, Ms. Abbott can speak to this if she wants. The money has been verified in the account. Ms. Abbott has used some of her discretionary money to close that gap. I do look forward to sharing that detail with Ms. Abbott as far as an actual a loose calendar of next steps of when the bid process starts, etc. But Handover Circle will be repaired. And the money is there to make sure it happens.
This year, right?
Yes, that's the plan.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because the Hanover peoples have been very patient, but their patience is wearing thin.
That's fair.
So we want to make sure that it is a priority this year, because let's just say the ball was dropped and now we need to pick it up and dribble it on down the court.
Yes, ma'am. So on this, as you all can see, the street segments resurface, and then the amount of money invested in street resurfacing, which I think there was a dip in 2019. It went back up in 2020, and it looks like it's over doubled in 2021. So there will be more street paving programs for 2021. If you can go to the next slide. So currently, about 1.5 miles in the queue for resurfacing in District 3, which includes about, that was last year. Last year, there was about 615,000 in street resurfacing, which covered 1.5 miles in District 3. You can go to the next slide.
Which was pitiful.
Ms. Abbott said it was pitiful. I'm not sure how I'm going to respond to that, but I'm just going to say it out loud again. She said it was pitiful.
It was pitiful.
Now, the following segments of streets have been resurfaced in the last 3 years. That is not necessarily a long list, but it is a requisite amount of streets, and I think you all will continue to see street paving. That's Highland Drive from Claremont Ave to Highland Ave, 13th Ave South, from 20th to RAJ. It's 14th Street from 14th Ave to 17th. 6th Street South from 9th Court to 10th Court. Stratford Road from Argyle Road. 20th Place from city limits to 280, as well as Cliff Road from 38th Street to 700 East. 40th Street from 5th Ave to 7th Ave South. Avant Circle from Argyle Road to South End. 5th Street South from 10th Court to 10th Ave South. 29th Street from Highland Ave to Nizuma. and 18th Street from 13th Court to 13th Ave. I did not read all of them, but that's just some. In addition to that, 2 streets that you will see resurface in 2021 include Holland Ave from 26th Street to 23rd and Palisades Boulevard from Columbiana to Valley Ave. Now, the next slide, I think I am just going to shut up and let Ms. Abbott say whatever she wants about sidewalk projects. Go ahead, Ms. Abbott.
That's very generous of you. And we also need to talk about those streets to be resurfaced in 2021 because one of those is not the most important street and there are several others that are. So, but anyway, on to sidewalks. The sidewalks on the south side of Birmingham are in deplorable condition. And I'm reminded of this on a daily basis by the people who call to remind me that their auntie, their grandchild, their mother, their neighbor tripped on the sidewalk and fell and hurt their whatever. And fortunately, they're not all suing us. But we need to be more proactive in our sidewalk repair and rehab. And of course, you were filling me in on dangerous spots that will be fixed outside of the wholesale replacement of sidewalks, but District 3 needs some serious attention because we have old, very old concrete that is cracked and broken. And I was telling you a while ago about a street where there is not one square of the sidewalk that isn't broken, not one section that's not broken. And this is in a 2-block area.
Yes, ma'am.
Every single square. So, and some of them aren't just broken, they're heaved up. So, and not by trees, but just by age and vehicles driving on them from the utility company. So we just need some serious help. And I'm going to be looking in our budget for extra money.
Yes, ma'am.
To fix sidewalks with. And I realize that's a joke, but you know, we have to keep looking.
Right. So, Sybil, if you don't mind, I am going to call an audible based on the current slide that's up that says let's talk. We're going to get into our Q&A in a minute. But I think I want to give James Fowler, who I have a very high appreciation for and respect for, what he does on behalf of the city of Birmingham and the Department of Transportation. The things he's inherited, investigated, and his future plans related to sidewalks for the entire city, but especially around District 3. And if you want to, James, you can also add and include, you know, the traffic calming things you've attempted to do on behalf of the citizens of District 3 as well.
Yes, sir. With respect to transportation, I would say that District 3 is one of the areas where residents are extremely interested in transportation issues. They're interested across the city, but particularly in District 3. And they're interested in a lot of things that I myself am personally interested in, including sidewalks and traffic calming. So what we have attempted to do over the last couple of years is across all these initiatives where we have not necessarily been able to make headway, just issue by issue or initiative by initiative, try to change and turn our direction. And so with respect to sidewalks, because that is such a big initiative that we all care about. So Councilor Abbott, you mentioned that this year trying to look at our budget and try to find extra money for sidewalks. And so what the city has done over the last couple of years is change direction with respect to how we invest in infrastructure. For a long time, as Mayor Woodfin mentioned, we have not consistently invested in roadway resurfacing and sidewalks and many other infrastructure items besides that. But that is something that I believe is a core responsibility of our municipal government, is investment in infrastructure just year over year over year. And so we shouldn't go for a period of time and then borrow bond money and then go for a period of time without investing and then borrow again, or go for a period of time and then make an investment and then go for a period of time and make an investment. Just year over year, we should consistently be investing in resurfacing and in sidewalks and other infrastructure as well. And so to start with, we've had to balance those needs against all the needs across the city. So it extends beyond just transportation, but in balancing the city's bond rating, so stabilizing that with investments in the pension and those other investments year over year, this administration has started to turn the tides in terms of consistently investing in first in resurfacing. So that's where we started. So Mayor Woodfin mentioned that in the last 3 years, we've invested about 28 million, and that's in resurfacing. We've also now started investing in sidewalks. So last year we invested 500,000, which we're leveraging against a grant to do a $2 million total investment in sidewalks. And then this coming year, at least, we should be able to invest another 500,000, but hopefully more than that. So I know that that budget is being developed now, but set that pattern so that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past where we haven't consistently invested in that infrastructure year over year. So it is a pattern, and it's a multi-year challenge. The other thing I'll note is that when we hired a consultant a few years ago to assess the conditions of the sidewalks across the city, they identified $200 million worth of needed sidewalk improvements. That's repairs and maintenance primarily, so $200 million. And we as a city are not unique in that backlog, that scale of backlog that feels so overwhelming. Other cities around the country have that same challenge. And so we won't be able to correct that overnight, and we won't necessarily be able to borrow and fix all of that stuff at once. However, what we can do are set healthy patterns of behavior and begin building and building and building. And so the last thing I'll mention, because there's a lot more to say, but the last thing that I'll mention is a lot of people have asked where they can go to find information about what roads are going to be resurfaced and about what sidewalks are included, where can they find the sidewalk master plan. And going through the town hall process, we've realized that that information, although it's online, we probably need to refresh and update how people access it. And so by the end of this week, so not today, but by the end of this week, residents can go to our department's website and see the sidewalk master plan, and then also what streets are going to be resurfaced. And so our department's website is the city's website, so birminghamal.gov/transportation. And so again, that's birminghamal.gov/transportation. And so by the end of this week, there should be a link on our website where folks can download the full sidewalk master plan, and then also information about what streets are going to be resurfaced. I'll pause there because it's a lot of information. So.
That's helpful information. Thank you, Mr. Fowler. Very helpful. Ms. Sybil, I'm done with that audible. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And we want to thank all of the neighborhoods in District 3 that are with us tonight, from Crestwood North and South to East Avondale, 5 Points South, Forest Park, Glen Iris, Highland Park, Redmont Park, and South Avondale for being with us. And a special thank you to those who are in contact with me, Councilor, all the time when they have something wrong or something that they see, as we told them to report it. I actually got emails today from Crestwood North and Redmont Park. So thank you to each of you. So I'm going to give out another number while Ralph DeBartolome and Edwin Revelle are both standing by to talk with us about zoning and housing code enforcement. But to remind everybody that the number for the Eastern Area Landfill is 655-3391. And also we showed some COVID information earlier. If you want the number to the COVID vaccine call center, that number is 858-2221. So Mr. Revelle, if you can hear me and turn your camera on, we are ready for you for the first question, and Mr. DeBartolome. So whichever one would like to take it, and it says, how long does it take to accomplish a zoning enforcement violation? Mr. Revelle.
Thank you, Ms. Sybil. My name is Edwin Revelle. I serve as the Director of the Department of Planning, Engineering, and Permits, and it's a delight to be with you, Mayor, as well as Councilor Abbott, and with the audience on tonight. As it relates to the zoning enforcement violations, as the Mayor mentioned, there are a number of different violations associated with zoning, dealing with the use of the property. It could be a fence violation. There could be outside storage violation, accessory structure violation. Typically, there are going to be 2 lanes. There'll be a lane associated with the cases where there is voluntary compliance, and that typically happens within a 21-day period. And then there's a lane associated with a non-voluntary compliance where the owner is not complying and responding to our correspondences And that oftentimes requires to go to municipal court to resolve, and that can be longer than the 21-day period. That could be on the order of months. I will say that even in the case where it doesn't have to go to municipal court, there are some instances where, as a part of the violation, in order to resolve it, an owner has to get a permit, or there may be a regulatory review, and that could extend some of that time as well. So the time, generally speaking, again, within 21 days, if there's voluntary compliance and there's no regulatory reviews required, and then longer than 21 days to the order of months if it's something that has to go to municipal court, and that's related to zoning enforcement violations.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ravel, for clarifying that. And so we also have Ralph DeBart-Laban standing by, because the housing code enforcement comes in a different department. So Mr. DeBart-Laban, if you can turn your camera on, we'd like you to speak to that issue. And additionally, where can citizens dispose of unwanted mattresses? Sir, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you, Mayor Woodfin and Councilor Abbott. My name is Ralph DeBart-Laban. I serve as the director with the Department of Public Works. With the housing violation, we have inspectors that go out and cover their zone, and they have 30 days. They send out a certified letter, and if property owner or tenant or whoever living in that particular location or area don't come into compliance within those 30 days, the inspectors go back out to revisit the property. Also they document and take pictures. And if they don't come in compliance, they do a second letter, which the second letter, they go out, and if they don't come in compliance the second time, then they get summons them to court, municipal court. And then once the court get it, it might take anywhere from, I would say, the whole process anywhere from 30 to 60 days for the housing code violation. And the other question you asked me about the city accepting mattress. They do not accept mattress at neither one of our landfill, Eastern nor New Georgia landfill. But now we have been picking up mattress on the side of the road and taking it to Santex, but we do not take them at our landfill, New Georgia nor Eastern area landfill.
Thank you so much, Mr. DeBart-Laban, and we will stay with you for a moment. We have a couple of other questions that have come in. So one person says, our neighborhood is very dense with a lot of recyclers. What can we do to advocate for more than once a month pickups in our neighborhood or in the city?
So Ralph and I are going to take this answer because him and I had a conversation already. I'll start it off, and if he wants to add anything, that's fine. Listen, residents of District 3, we hear you loud and clear. We actually, the question I have for Ralph is, tell me where is the highest interest of recycling and who recycles the most. By far, we know it's District 3. And so in District 3, as Ralph will tell you, there are 3 routes. The city of Birmingham has over 20 plus routes that pick up trash/recycling. And for District 3, there are a total of 3 routes, where 1.5 of those routes today is currently on the actual, pilot program we have, where we have actually giving out uniform trash bins and recycled bins as well. And for that 1.5 route that covers District 3, which is I think 2 or 2.5 neighborhoods, that recycling actually picked up once a week. For the remaining 1.5, what happened is when we went into the coronavirus, that recycling went down to once a week. We hear you loud and clear. We're coming out of the coronavirus at 1 year. We will start increased pickup very soon, and we will target District 3 for continued pickup. For the remaining 1.5, that will go to at least twice a month starting out. But as I've shared with Ralph, ideally we can get that started in April. Ralph, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think, Mayor, you covered everything. Like I say, South Crestwood, they do well with recycle. Also, South Avondale and Forest Park. We don't collect as much recycle in the Roebuck area. And that might be something that we can probably look at, starting another pilot program in the area where we have more people that's a citizen that's interested in recycle. So that's something that we can look into. If we have it on the south side where it's heavy at, we can focus on that area and take those containers that we, distribute over there in Roebuck area and place them in another area. And we'd use that as a pilot.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mayor and Ralph. Great information. Also, we want to share that the number to call if you'd like more information about the City Hall program, the pilot project, which we mentioned, is 254-6344. So the next question, and this goes back to concerns about the sidewalks that were mentioned, and this is a question that came in from Facebook, and it says, are homeowners or businesses supposed to repair broken sidewalks in front of their properties? Whoever sent it in said this has always been confusing and would like more clarity on that. Mayor?
I think James Fowler may be in the best position to answer that question. Hopefully he heard the question.
I did, yes, sir. And so the question, as I understand it, is basically, are the property owners responsible for repairing those sidewalks? And technically, according to our code, the answer is yes. So we do have it clearly stated in our code that a property owner is supposed to maintain and repair the sidewalk in front of their home. However, I think we all practically know that that's going to be challenging with so many vacant homes, and that's a big expense. So we have not necessarily gone and enforced that. However, that is something that is technically in the code, the responsibility of the property owner. We have started looking at how other cities create partnerships with some of the neighborhoods or create opportunities where the city can partner to help fund some of that backlog of sidewalk repairs. We're not ready to do that yet, but we have started looking at other cities because it's a challenge that's not unique to Birmingham, but it's unique to cities across the country, in particular old cities like ours. So thank you.
Thank you so much, James, and thank you so much, Mayor. So this next question will be for Captain Greenberg, if you can turn your camera on, and it's a two-part question. The first one is a thank you, basically, for BPD for what you've done to address street racing. The question is, will this continue? And the second part is, what is BPD doing to address speeders, especially in the Carlisle Road area?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Harry Greenberg, and I'm currently serving as the captain of the South Precinct. First, I want to thank Ms. Abbott for the kind words given earlier. I really appreciate that. To answer your question on street racing, we're utilizing the same principles that we use to address all concerns brought to our attention, which is the team effort. We've conducted several operations each weekend to address the street racing. We reached out to some of our law enforcement partners, sister agencies, as well as many of the divisions and units within the police department for assistance everywhere from our precinct personnel, our task force, our traffic task force, our tactical operations precinct, ALEA, Detective Bureau. Several of our units came together to address this very critical problem of street racing. It's very dangerous. We're aware that we lost someone over this past weekend as a result of it. It's something we take very seriously and have every intention of bringing to a close. Several citations have been written. We are trying to get the word out to everyone to call us when they see such activity. Let us know. Again, the BPD app is also a great thing to utilize that's new. Lets us know where the problems are and allows us to quickly get there and address them. You mentioned speeding on Carlisle Road. That area that's coming out of English Village has received quite a large number of complaints of late. And again, we've utilized the same principles. We've sent our patrol officers, our beat officers, tactical operations unit has spent several days working radar in that area, issued numerous citations, and we're very grateful for their assistance, and we've had a lot of good results on that. So we're doing everything we can to make improvements in those areas of concern.
Thank you. So I see Chief Patrick Smith, does he want to say anything?
You know, Mayor, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say one thing. We're working exceptionally hard in this area. Speeding as well as racing has been an ongoing problem within the community. So far, just on as it relates to racing alone, we've written 594 citations. We've made 6 arrests. We have recovered 5 firearms, and we've towed a total of 10 vehicles related to this type of activity. In addition to that, we have our citywide task force and our motor officers who are dedicated to running the radar and slowing the traffic pattern within the city. Between those two units, we are doing what we can to reduce the number of fatal and problem area traffic collisions, and they're writing close to, I guess I should say, over 1,000 tickets per week to reduce the level of speed within the city.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you so much, Chief and Mayor. And this one is also for Birmingham Police. And the question is it legal to park facing the wrong way on a street, even on a two-way? Chief or Captain, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. I think I'm having trouble with my video. If you can, my video is not coming on. Well, there you go. Okay.
We see you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. To answer that question, it is illegal to park opposite of the direction of the traffic flow. Clearly, when somebody comes out of that parking space, they have to cross into the opposing lane, and it creates a hazard. So we do enforce that. Our patrol officers, when they see it, as well as our parking enforcement unit in the area they work, that is on their plate of areas of concern. Our parking enforcement unit, I know year to date, has written over 23,600 and some odd citations. So that is included in one of the variety, I'll say, of violations to address, in addition to parking meters, handicap parking, loading zone violations. We address those as well.
Thank you so much, sir. And we have a question that has come in from Facebook, and someone would like to know, are there any volunteer opportunities available for the police department, or just volunteering in general?
I think I'll start with the volunteering in general, and then if Cap, if you want to add anything, that's cool. And Ms. Abbott knows this because she used to be a super volunteer in the form of a neighborhood officer. The best way for any citizen in District 3 to volunteer is to sign up and or just start attending your own neighborhood meetings. That can be in the form of a non-officer, just to know what's going on, because in these monthly meetings, you have updates and reports from Birmingham Police Department, from Public Works, from the Community Resource Representative, and from many other departments, fire, etc. In addition, another way to actually volunteer hands-on is every 2 years, Ms. Abbott, I believe there's a president, vice president, and secretary elections to be a neighborhood officer. In addition to that, that number again, 254, I believe, Cap, that's 2793 is South Precinct Extension. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
Call that number if you want to form or join or learn more about block watch programs, the neighborhood watch programs related to addressing or suppressing crime from a civilian standpoint. So those are just some ways. Cap, am I missing anything?
No, sir, Mayor, you covered it. Ms. Ragland is our contact person there at South Precinct. She's our crime prevention officer and does a really great job of coordinating all the programs. And she is always very helpful and willing to work with everyone. So by all means, give her a call and take advantage of that great opportunity.
And Ms. Abbott, thank you, Cap. Ms. Abbott, did you want to add anything? Because it was kind of like a blanket question. Is there any way to volunteer?
Well, certainly getting involved with neighborhood associations is a great thing. You know, the neighborhoods get out there and do neighborhood cleanups and all kinds of canvassing of the neighborhood to find out what people are interested in. And also canvassing of the neighborhood to turn in people who are doing things that they shouldn't be doing in our neighborhoods. But I wanted to ask Captain Greenberg if y'all still have the ride-along program where ordinary citizens can ride along with a police officer on his or her shift?
Right now, Ms. Abbott, that has been suspended because of the COVID. The program still exists. It's just not being utilized at this time. But we look forward to when the pandemic is over with, getting back to allowing our citizens to come out and see firsthand what we do every day.
Well, when I was a new council member way back in the dark ages, I rode along with an officer from each of the precincts in the city, and I told him I wanted to go on Saturday night so I could see how much fun they had on Saturday night. And it gave me a real eye-opening experience and a renewed respect for the police, what they have to do. I helped an officer, I probably wasn't supposed to, but follow a bloody trail down an alley where someone had been shot. I think he was probably supposed to have left me in the car, but neither one of us knew any better. And I went along on a domestic where the offender thought I was the officer's mother and asked him if he took his mother with him he was very young and I was not. But it was an interesting experience, and I think every citizen who's got a little bit of nerve should go out and ride with a police officer and see what they go through, because it's not, you know, sometimes some of us joke about they just ride around in their cars and that's it. But I know that it's not true, and I know from doing the ride-alongs that I met my first geek monster. You know, I didn't even know what a geek monster was. I also met my first prostitute that way. So, you know, not that I intend to go out and meet a lot more, but, you know, those are things that I had never seen because I had left sheltered life. So I just want to tell people that is a way to volunteer to learn more about what's going on in the departments, and especially the police, because the police have taken a lot of flack lately, and people need to understand what it's like to pull up on a car with dark tinted windows at 11 o'clock at night and stop them and not know whether the people in the car have 12 guns pointed at you or whether they're just stupid people who drove too fast. So it gave me it scared me, but it gave me a renewed respect. So I think that's another important thing, that when the pandemic is over and we're not all wearing masks and having to be 6 feet away, that is a very interesting thing to do.
Well, we appreciate you dropping that knowledge, Ms. Abbott, and tell folks don't be disrespecting you at the door. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mayor. The next question is, and it's from District 3 throughout the district, and citizens want to know, how can we get bike lanes in our area?
Mr. Fowler, you want to address that question? I know part of the Department of Transportation is this overview of how we view how people interact with moving from point A to B in our city, which is not just by private vehicle, but also by public transportation, also walkable and bikeable. So, Mr. Fowler, you want to answer that question?
Yes, sir. So I really appreciate that question. One of the reasons why we changed the department name from Department of Traffic Engineering to the Department of Transportation was to acknowledge our responsibility with regards to transportation to all modes of transportation. So whether you're a pedestrian or a transit user or a cyclist, there's a legitimate use of our streets for those purposes. With respect to bike lanes in particular, we're doing a couple of things. And so folks in District 3 and around the city can expect to see more of this. So whenever we are taking on a resurfacing project, in accordance with the Complete Streets Ordinance that was passed, we evaluate each road for its potential for bicycle improvements, but also pedestrian or even transit improvements as well. So as a part of each resurfacing project, we're looking at that and have had some success in that in a short amount of time. And additionally, when new developments are coming into town, if they're affecting or impacting the curb space in front of their development, we're looking at the width of the street to determine if there should be new infrastructure. So in areas in and around District 3, there will be opportunities as redevelopment continues to put bike lanes in as well. So we have a lot of plans for different streets that we've been discussing, and so look forward to sharing more information about that and for folks to see the impact of that over time. So,
Mr. Fowler, there's also a question about what does it take to get more visible crosswalks and pedestrian right-of-ways, I guess visibility around right-of-ways?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the past, what we've done as a city is, and this is not necessarily, again, unique to Birmingham, but for our crosswalks, we've just put in place what is the minimum, which is the 2 4-inch white lines that come across, and we've used paint primarily for that. In recent years, what we've started to do is invest in thermoplastic paint, which is much more vibrant and it lasts a lot longer. And we're starting to use more what we call high visibility crosswalks. So those are the ladder crosswalks. And so we are continuing to make that investment. This past year, because of COVID and impacts to the budget citywide, that probably didn't help us at all. However, we recognize the importance of that, and that's a priority area for us as we continue to build going forward our Department of Transportation. So investing in more high visibility crosswalks, using more thermoplastic, and we've you've probably seen a few more. We don't want to necessarily overdo this, but you've seen probably a few more stop signs in a few locations that allow for safe crossing opportunities for pedestrians.
And Mr. Fowler and Captain Greenberg, the first question is for you, Mr. Fowler, and this is the last question, I believe, around transportation issues. It's about enforcement, parking enforcement. No parking here to corner. How can we get better enforcement, and why isn't the city allowed to use yellow paint on curbs anymore? And Captain Greenberg, related to people parking in front of fire hydrants, should citizens call the police when we see this?
Okay, yes, sir. So I'll start with the yellow curb portion and then allow Captain Greenberg to respond to the enforcement portion. So regarding the curbs and the painting, there are definitely appropriate places where yellow curbs or curb painting is appropriate. In particular, we'll probably see a little bit more of that around hospitals and specialty loading areas. Unfortunately, in residential areas, which I'm guessing is what the question is geared to, we are just unfortunately not resourced to be able to maintain that level of yellow striping. So our first priority going forward is going to be on our crosswalks, new things like bike lanes, and then also just maintaining roadway striping. So that's going to be our top priority. So unfortunately, we just cannot maintain in the residential areas striping on the corners. So that's a great question, though.
What's the answer if they want to call the police when they see someone parking in front of a fire hydrant? Should they call the police?
The answer to that, Mayor, is absolutely. They can call our non-emergency number, 328-9311. They can use the BPD app that's also available to make reports such as that. And we give periodic reminders to our officers to be on the lookout for things that are brought to our attention, more so through the concerns of the citizens that make specific reports. But acting as our eyes, ears, and partners, we would greatly appreciate if somebody sees something along those lines and would like to have it addressed, by all means, give us a call and we'll send someone right out, either one of the officers or our parking enforcement unit will go out and take care of it.
Thank you, Kat. Everybody, I'm just going to time check. We have 2 more questions we're going to do. The next to the last question will be for Evan Revelle. I think it's a very fair question. It states, what is the best way to let, I guess, homeowners whose property may be dilapidated to know the rules of the maintenance code and or encourage them to sell or fix them up? And that's a lot of words in that question, but I guess they were wanting to know if I could, I guess, shorthand their question, Mr. Revelle. Is the city of Birmingham responsible for any educational component related to citizens knowing if they're in violation of a code enforcement?
Yes, Mayor, that is a great question. Typically, with all of our code enforcement, the initial effort that we take is an education effort, is an effort basically to let the citizen know that what the violation is and why the violation exists and the need to address it. So typically, we tend to handle that education component as a part of our code enforcement efforts. In addition to that, we also have brochures that have been developed and that's sent out through various means. There's also information provided on the city's website, but it is really important to do all that we can to make sure that we're educating our citizens, because many times what we do find when we do initiate a code violation, people just didn't know. And so that has been very helpful to provide that information. And we're most certainly looking for more means and more ways to do that as well, sir.
Got you. So thank you, Mr. Revelle. The last question, and then I'll make a comment after this question and answer about trash brush pickup and it being late. The last question is related to, I believe the choice wording was, is there anything can be done about the panhandling related to people off the exit of Green Springs, which is 65 South? The answer is yes, and is multifold. I think the biggest thing we can do is Don Lupo and I can partner with One Roof and try a approach of simply engaging those who are actually off the exit, asking for anything, money or whatever they are engaging motorists at the exit light. What One Roof do is see if there is a possibility of assisting them, whatever resource available, if it's available to them. I think another approach we can say, if that behavior continues and they resist that help from One Roof or Mr. Lupo or anyone else with the city, we can then ask the police to actually go out there and initiate some form of a verbal or written warning that you're not supposed to panhandle off this exit. If that doesn't work, I believe we can then escalate that behavior, but I think that's a last result, Ms. Abbott. So I think we'll try a soft approach first of engaging to see if we need any help. Again, the thing I wanted to talk about related to trash and brush, the question was centered around, I believe the word choice was lately. Things have either been late or not on the timely pickup. There's I guess, a combination of things why. One is the coronavirus is real, everybody. It's made its way not only through the world, through the nation, through the state of Alabama, Jefferson County, and city of Birmingham, but it's made its way through any company and organization that includes city of Birmingham. We get weekly reports on the number of departments that have been affected by employees who have coronavirus. No different than the police department or fire department that has to be, I guess, response offset when an employee is out due to a coronavirus or any other issue. That issue is it's also made its way through those who are in the refuse division of the Public Works Department. And so when that happens, the pickup time is not necessarily always on time because we're short of drivers or whatever. In addition to that, it's no secret to anybody in this room as well as the people that are listening here. We don't have necessarily the newest equipment related to trucks. That pilot program that's in one half of the 3 routes in District 3 has some newer equipment as well. And so ideally we will be in a position to order new equipment that includes uniform trash trucks, not just uniform trash bins, certain point. And so we can get back in the position of being on time, but that requires investment and money. When you talk about competing interests of sidewalks and the streets and all these other things, radar guns, etc., we want to make sure we get your trash picked up. We are sorry. I mean, I genuinely mean that. I want to apologize to you that it's not always on time, but we do pick it up. With that, I want to give the last point to Ms. Silbel, who has some closing announcements she wants to make.
Thank you so much, Mayor, and thank you to all of the members of District 3 who joined us tonight. Just a couple of things to share with you. We want you to get involved with your neighborhood investigations. We are in contact with neighborhood officers every single day. We try to keep them abreast of everything that's going on. We share trash and brush information, missed trash, missed brush, late, you name it. We are in contact with them, and we appreciate all of those neighborhood officers. We also encourage you to use the Next Door app and the BPD app that we mentioned earlier. In addition to that, we do want to let you know that neighborhood officer elections will be Tuesday, March 3rd. That will be Tuesday, March 30th. 4 sites have been selected as polling places, and they will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Ballots for all 99 neighborhoods will be available at all 4 sites. And also, to know more about your neighborhood, you can call the Community Resource Services office, and that number is 297-8192. In addition to that, if you did have a question tonight, email us. We'll be glad to get back in touch with you. That email address is townhall@birminghamal.gov. And also, in case you missed some of the information in the PowerPoint, you can find that at www.birminghamal.gov/townhall. With that, Mayor, I turn it back over to you.
Yes, ma'am. And I turn it over to Ms. Abbott to give us some closing remarks if she wants to.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for, number one, everyone in this room who has provided all of these answers and who will provide answers to the questions that did not get answered tonight. And I want to thank all of the residents who took the time to watch and see what's going on in your city and see what your next phone call or email or text is going to be about, asking us to maybe do our jobs better. So I thank everyone for participating and for assisting.
So
I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for having this format for us, because I think that when people can see the folks that are supporting them, it helps.
Yes, ma'am. So absolutely. So I have several thank yous. My first thank you is to the people in this. There are people in this room, everybody you can't see behind the scenes, that have made this town hall successful. It was important to us, and it's been important to us, that even in the last year, if we can't be with people in person, we find ways to still communicate. And so thank you to everybody in this room who's allowed us to be here tonight. 2 is to thank you, the audience, for participating in Citizens of District 3 and anybody else in the city. I hope you've gotten received some helpful information, and this is a good time. Ms. Silva, I want you to repeat that email address. It's townhall@something. But we pride ourselves on answering your question. Even if you don't like the answer, we will answer. So if your question did not get answered tonight, please take the time to email us at.
That's townhall@birminghamal.gov.
Thank you, Ms. Silbel. I want to thank the participants, all the department heads and deputy department heads and others on the screen. Everybody, they've been at work since early this morning, so thank you all for being with us tonight. You always give honest and detailed answers that Ms. Abbott and I are not in a position to answer, so thank you so much. Again, also, thank you to the neighborhood officers, presidents, vice presidents, and secretaries. Thank you to all business owners in District 3 as well. And the biggest thank you, and this is my favorite, this is to Ms. Valerie Abbott for her service, her passion, her genuine interest, and not just complaining, but always trying to be on the solution end of solving problems on behalf of the citizens of District 3 she represents. So Ms. Abbott, honestly, thank you for everything. With that, everybody, y'all continue to be safe. The COVID is still out here, so don't catch the COVID. Get the vaccine. Stop playing. Have a